The original SoundCloud era, circa 2016 to 2018 or so, was a revolutionary time period for it bred a lot of new fresh talent and rappers with homegrown fan bases utilizing social media among other organic internet marketing methods. And while the internet has definitely not slowed down, actually quite the opposite, it does seem as though the major record labels have caught on to how these aforementioned artists cultivated an audience so fast, making the more recent music scene feel a lot less, real. But what if I told you one label in particular was actually utilizing these same methods all along, replicating and even depending on how you look at it, improving upon at the time upcoming acts such as Lil Uzi Vert, Juice WRLD, and others, all the while posing as an independent label with little to no backing? For the whole shtick in the music industry these days is to act independent for as long as possible, to not be labeled as an industry plant, which can tarnish your career before it even started. For decades now, independent record labels have actually been responsible for bringing new styles of music and rather large artists to our attention that we would not have even expected to be independent. A small label based in Jamaica called Island Records not only brought Bob Marley and the Wailers to the forefront, but they also signed a little-known Irish band called U2 that ended up being one of the biggest rock bands in the world. Seattle-based Sub Pop brought us Nirvana, Soundgarden, and many others. In the world of hip-hop, there are more independent labels than we can even begin to name. One of the most widely known is Top Dog Entertainment, which might be a similar situation to 10K Projects, responsible for signing some of the greats when it comes to lyricism and West Coast elements: Kendrick Lamar, Schoolboy Q, J-Rock, SZA, and others. Considering the size of such acts, I'm still not sure how TDE still calls themselves independent, which leads me to another not so independent label, 10K Projects. Known for signing Trippie Redd, 6ix9ine, Ian Dior, Internet Money, Summers, and some other non-hip-hop acts early on in their careers, and well, you all most likely know how large they have become since. But who is behind this mysterious 10K Projects, and how did he have such a high success rate so early on in the company's infancy, given it was only established a year earlier in 2016? Elliot Grange, a young up-and-comer in the music industry that started his label shortly after college and has used SoundCloud and the data it offers to scoop up artists already cultivating a bit of attention on the smaller but more enthusiastic of the music platforms. Seems like a likely story, as this is the go-to formula for labels to this day, but it's one thing to be able to spot talent early on in their career. Many of you watching likely feel like you do this without any financial incentive, but it's another to actually lock down and sign these artists, because many of the times there are other bidders, and if not, they're not going to sign all their rights and likeness away for chump change. Which leads us to the question, where did Elliot Grange find the money? When you dig a little bit deeper, 10K Projects might not be as indie as you think. Elliot grew up in England and has been around the music industry all his life. In fact, his father is music titan Lucian Grange, that Travis Scott actually mentioned in his recent feature on Drake and 21 Savage's Her Lost collab tape, but he is also the current chairman and CEO of the largest music rights organization in the world, Universal Music Group, and with an estimated net worth of over $600 million, it's not too hard to imagine where young Elliot managed to scrape the resources together to start his own record label. Look no further than Papa Bear. It's probably irresponsible to say that 10K Projects has been entirely bankrolled by its founder's wealthy and influential father, but it certainly hasn't hurt. Looking beyond the family connection, I must give credit where it's due. Elliot obviously has a talent for finding star power with potential for the masses and executing upon this potential, a process most labels take tens or even hundreds of artists to find success with much more resources. Not to mention the countless platinum singles under his belt from the likes of Trippie Redd, 6ix9ine, and Internet Money that 10K Projects was heavily involved in and still are to this day. My only problem with it, or rather intrigue, is the simple fact that 10K Projects labels themselves as independent when that could not be farther from the truth. I don't know anyone that would honestly consider Trippie Redd an independent artist after accumulating over 15 platinum plaques among other artists' accolades on the 10K lineup. Oh, and don't forget how Trippie Redd quite recently apparently renewed his deal with the label this past calendar year for a whopping $30 million. I don't know about you, but that doesn't seem too independent to me. Now, looking a little bit deeper, we can uncover even further examples of his father's fingerprints all over the alleged indie label. For most independent labels handle publishing and distribution on their own, allocating as many of their own resources as possible into promoting their respective artists to the masses. This is the only difference between independent and major labels, but very important, because with more money and resources comes more influence and reach, essentially increasing the chances of the artist and or music being successful investments, which in itself is just business. Why wouldn't you want to utilize any and every advantage you can to beat the competition? But you don't see Amazon trying to act like it's a corner store, right? This is exactly what 10K Projects is doing, acting as if they are a homegrown label that somehow knows some secret Krabby Patty formula to blow up small artists with minimal resources, all the while having the biggest label's resources at its disposal, secretly. Similar to that of like Interscope, 300 Entertainment, Atlantic Records, and the like. Not too different than the more recently popularized phenomenon of industry plants, wherein an artist acts as if they are organically creating music and building an audience, meanwhile being funded in the shadows by a record label. So just like them, 10K Projects distribution is handled by a larger music rights company and none other than, you guessed it, Universal Music Group. So yes, Elliot Grange has found some of the most original voices in hip-hop today and has built an influential label that is pushing boundaries. But should it really be considered an indie label? When you've got the largest music company in the world behind you and a father who is worth over $500 million, is it really fair to consider yourself independent? This is not to take anything away from Elliot Grange and 10K Project's accomplishments, because there are plenty of labels, or more generally, rich people who cannot reach anywhere close to the same success in the music industry, known to be one of the toughest and most rewarding, with even more money at their disposal. Hell, I'd take full advantage of my network given I was in Elliot Grange's shoes, but I'd call myself a major label. Let my nuts hang. With all that being said, thank you for watching the video in its entirety. It has been your boy Bobbalam, one day using daddy's money to start my own record label, or major label, that is, or independent label. Y'all let me know in the comments what you think about 10K Projects defining itself as an independent label and what that means to you exactly. Of course, as always, make sure to like and subscribe to join the Bob Gang if you with it, and see you on the next video.